Hello! Today I am going to talk about feelers and thinkers. I noticed there's like a certain stereotype of like feelers being really kind and thinkers being more mean. So I thought I would address this. So first of all, it's not true that feelers are kinder than thinkers. But it is true that usually feelers, to them, like human relationships, are usually a little bit more important. So, even though most people want relationships in their life, for feelers, usually that's what it's all about. Whereas for thinkers, they might have stronger goals that might not be necessarily related to people and might, for example, be something to do with their career or something like that. And this can make feelers seem like they're nicer, maybe because they're just a little bit more focused on people in general. And thinkers can seem a bit more distant in that sense. So I would describe it as emotional involvement versus emotional detachment. So feeling is all about focusing on either what you value or what other people value. What do you care about? How do you emotionally feel about something? It's all about being very aware of how you feel and using it to make decisions. So their emotions are on the surface. Usually, these people are quite emotional. They're also usually a bit more creative naturally, because creativity has a lot to do with like emotional self-expression too. Whereas with thinkers, it might be a bit less emotional for them. You know, they might really have a strong opinion on something, but for a thinker, it might be more a question of what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. Their emotions are less on the surface and they are more detached from them. And of course, you know, if you're kind or if you're not kind depends on what you want as a person. So, like, that kind of stuff that just has to do with you as a person. And you know, we also have this stereotype where people would say that thinkers are smart and feelers are dumb. And I want to say that, you know, intelligence technically has nothing to do with your type. Your type determines like the cognitive tools that you can use, that you have access to. So these tools kind of determine things that you're naturally likely to be good at, but they don't determine your baseline intelligence. And your intelligence determines how effective you are going to be at using these tools that you got, and how versatile you are going to be with learning new things. So it's a bit of both, you know, it's a bit of like, yes, the cognitive functions can influence your type of intelligence. There are certain types that make you more likely to be naturally good at something. For example, intuitives are known to be better generally at understanding abstract theory than sensors, and feelers are more likely to be naturally emotionally intelligent and understanding people and how other people feel. Thinkers are more likely to be good at understanding how systems work and are able to use objective reasoning without emotional involvement. So, like, when you're a feeler who's like really smart, you can learn to understand systems, you know, you can do the objective reasoning, but it might not be your natural talent. And it's the same for thinkers, could still be able to really learn how to understand people, how to be emotionally intelligent, how to understand themselves and stuff like that. But it might not be their natural talent. You know, it's more about what you're naturally supposed to be good at. But you can try to learn anything you want, you know, depending on how smart you are in the end. You know, you can have people who are like not that intelligent versus like really intelligent and they're the same type. You know, it's not like type determines intelligence. So thinkers might more easily run into problems with interpersonal relationships, and feelers might more easily run into problems, especially maybe when they're younger, with being overly emotional and people just calling them like you're so sensitive. Why are you so sensitive? And they might have issues. They might get depressed or something because they're so sensitive. They don't know how to regulate their feelings. And then thinkers might be kind of like their emotions are more easily repressed, so it's kind of like they can really easily put their feelings aside and seem like they're just really calm and collected, and but they might run into problems later in life with just maybe neglecting how they feel about things and neglecting their own emotions and kind of not realizing that they've been doing that. The thing about feelers is that how they come across can really differ depending on how they're feeling. So, for example, a feeler who is feeling really angry can come off as very aggressive, and a feeler who is feeling really happy can come off as very kind and warm and positive energy. They're either just deal with a lot of anger maybe and a lot of sadness, and the other person just doesn't. The other person is just always happy. And that kind of shines through. And that's more so the case with extroverted feelers, but with introverted feelers can be the same thing. It might just be a bit less obvious since it's still introverted for them. But like a thinker might seem calm and level-headed, and then all of a sudden they have this anger outburst or something. So, if we're talking, for example, about villains, imagine that if you have this evil villain who's a feeler, their motivation might be emotional. They might kind of, for example, be like, I hate people, or I hate these people, I hate what they did to me, or something like that. And they might try to like emotionally manipulate people. And a tinker villain might have this thing where they might, for example, have a certain goal in mind that they want to reach, and they are willing to risk everything to like get there, and they are kind of ignoring how other people feel, like they're not even aware of it. And they might not even be aware of how they are feeling necessarily. So this emotional detachment, not checking in with how do I really feel, for example, and not checking in with how do they feel, just ignoring all of it, can be dangerous in like a tinker villain. And for a feeler villain, it can be dangerous that they have maybe this very strong hate for something, and they might be more aware of how people feel, and then they might use it against them. So that's what I wanted to say about feeling and thinking. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Farewell. I keep forgetting to look in the camera. Feelers, thinkers, feelers, thinkers. There's a fly, and it's really annoying me. I don't want to kill it, but I'm like, I want to kill it, but I know I always regret it when I kill it because I don't like the idea of killing things, even though it's just a fly. I'm getting angry, and I'm like, I blame this fly for my anger, but really, it's not the fly's fault. It's just doing its thing.